We've talked before about how the police were ready to drop the case and just end the investigation until Jayaram. They had a meeting with Jayaram, a little meeting with Jayaram, and then they decided to go ahead with it. But I don't think we really went into much detail about it. Like I've come across it before, but and confirmed it myself, reading bits here and there. But I'm just going to share with you about how much of a snake he is, Jayaram. So let's try and remember. We've got these names: Darren Martland, Assistant Chief Constable. Nigel Wenham, that's just the Chief Superintendent that Jayaram emailed. We know Paul Hughes with the diarrhoea. Tony Chambers and from the hospital, one of the managers, and Stephen Cross. Okay, but so try and remember who's who. I'll pop back up if I forget as well, because it gets a bit complicated. But so basically, there's a meeting with the police in room 5 on 12th of May 2017, and I just want to show how absolutely clear that this was done. They were closing the investigation. Right. On the 10th of May, so this was just 2 days earlier from the meeting. Right, on the 10th of May, an email was sent direct to I've forgotten his name, Nigel Wenham, to Nigel Wenham from Council of Chester, Dr. Ravi Jayaram. This document has now been shared with Council of Chester executive teams, that would be Tony Chambers. Nigel Wenham gave an overview of the context. Dr. Jayaram is expressing the collective review of the 7 clinicians that operate in the unit. So it is a group of 7, not 4, in the unit, and has made significant allegations of concern or suspicion in relation to the number of deaths. He has used strong language, including highly suspicious, and makes specific reference to the nurse, directly relating to the deaths and the sequencing timeline. Dr. Jayaram concluded that it is highly unusual and may indicate a possible unnatural cause of death. A professional challenge around some of the pathology findings is outlined. So they're disputing what the pathologist says, and it is significant in terms of the content, narrative, and language being used. So basically, he just sent a stronger email about his suspicions. Right. Tony Chambers stated, from the hospital boss, stated that there is nothing new in the email review from Dr. Jayaram that has not already been shared with the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health, RCPCH, okay, and all the inquiries that have gone on. It reads in a fairly unbalanced way, and it needs to be looked at in context of all the information. If I'm skipping over bits, it's just because it's about 10 pages long. Okay, it is disappointing that it does feel that as a group of clinicians, they have not moved on despite all of the reviews and inquiries that have been completed. So basically, they had the independent review. The independent review told them there's nothing criminal going on here, natural causes, but Jayaram couldn't take it and is group of 7. Okay, Ian Harvey added, is it Ian Harvey IH? Did I see his name up there? Yeah, Ian Harvey. At no point have the Countess of Chester uncovered anything that would indicate a significant chance that there was an underlying criminal act, but the clinicians still feel it is unexplained. DM, who's the top of the police, who again, Darren, I keep forgetting his name, Darren Martland, Assistant Chief Constable, Darren Martland. I'll try and remember because his name comes up a lot. Darren Martland replied that Cheshire Constabulary have similar concerns. If an objective third-party view is taken, we have clinicians who are experts in their field and other reviews conducted, and at this stage there is no direct allegation of any wrongdoing on the part of an individual or significant negligence which could potentially constitute to a criminal offence. There is nothing to suggest this is the case. Cheshire Constabulary are not clinical experts. Any reports or information that is presented that may potentially constitute as evidence of a criminal offence, then as soon as threshold is met, it will be picked up as a criminal investigation. It does not feel like this stage is being met at present. Okay. Stephen Cross from the hospital added that it is worth bearing in mind that the report from Dr. Jayaram has been sent 11 months on. If the clinicians had such a concern, they have been advised from the beginning to contact the police. Ian Harvey from the hospital has repeatedly challenged the clinicians, asking if there has been any act or acts which the hospital need to be aware of, which would effectively give a case, but repeatedly they have said no. Ian Harvey met with seniors. Although there was a cause of death and the coroner had been comfortable, either with or without inquest, they were still uncomfortable with the collapses. As far as they were concerned, there was no other way Countess of Chester could complete an investigation or commission an investigation from another NHS body that would satisfy the clinicians. In other words, what Ian Harvey was saying is no matter how many investigations or who said it to them, they weren't having it. At this stage, the hospital have exhausted all lines possible, and there is nothing that could potentially be evidence of a criminal investigation. The concerns raised by the consultants have been raised previously, and there is nothing they are aware of that they would consider or believe that potential criminal offences may have been committed. I just want to bolster the point that, how much they were ready. This was done, closed, finished. Ian Harvey added, when there is no clinical explanation, they, Jayaram and co, feel uncomfortable. It is unusual that they have a collective mindset. This is a problem which the hospital needs to manage, as it is not a criminal issue. Cheshire Constabulary will not conduct a criminal investigation at this stage, with the caveat if further information comes to light. Darren Martland, was it, asked that the hospital intentions, what the hospital intentions are in relation to the email sent from Jayaram. The hospital have not spoken to Jayaram yet. It would be dependent on the outcome of this meeting. It cannot be left as they have made the same allegations again, but with more focus than previous. So he's just basically said the same thing, but stronger language, but without any substance. I'd love to have seen this email though. If I find it, I'll let you know. There is a need to discuss what the hospital can do to reach an endpoint which they are comfortable with. Ian Harvey would look at how the hospital can manage the endpoint prospectively. Tony Chambers from the hospital stated would become a wider General Medical Council issue as there becomes a point where a group of clinicians, the seven, what's that, something seven, not famous five, but who are not prepared to take the recommendations of RCPCH are blocking the ability to move forward, which creates a more difficult and dangerous environment for sick babies. Basically, especially with Brewery saying that he's not going to deal with, he's not going to have Lucy back on the scene. Sorry about that, I got interrupted. Where did I get to? Okay, so Tony Chambers added that the consultants have made their points and they have been seen and not judged. Sorry, this is bad grammar. Tony Chambers added that the consultants have made their points and they have been seen, comma, and not judged as sufficient to warrant a police-led investigation. Okay, and then what's his name again? Darren Martland said at this stage the police position could be summarised that the police investigation will not be led. Okay. Tony Chambers from the hospital. The clinician's view is that the hospital have not listened, but they have just not agreed. Basically, he's saying the hospital have listened, but they haven't agreed. If this is to be the sufficient point to draw the line, dependent upon the rationale for not conducting a police inquiry or a criminal investigation, it cannot be on the basis that the hospital does not feel that it is warranted. It has to be based on the Cheshire Constabulary not investigating based on the reviews/reports. He goes on to say, a request will be made for any other information that is being withheld that would help meet the threshold requirements. In other words, he's going to ask them to give him something. Darren oh, why can't I remember this guy's name? Was it Darren Martland? Very easily forgettable. Because I haven't seen his face, that's why. That's all. I'm sure he's a handsome bloke, but Darren Martland replied that the email sent from Jayaram has not highlighted anything new that the Countess of Chester are not already aware of. The hospital need to clarify that they are happy, based on the email from Dr. Jayaram, that there were no concerns prior to the email that would potentially warrant a criminal investigation, and has this position changed since the email. NW, who's the police officer who Jayaram emailed, added an observation that Jayaram has sent the email directly to the police and bypassed the hospital executive team. So basically they're just saying they're going to just check that he's not adding anything else. Darren Martland, in summary, if there was nothing new raised in the email or conversation, then would look to the hospital to write to Cheshire Constabulary to confirm their position, stating we are or are not requesting a criminal investigation. And the final page, Darren Martland stated that at present there does not appear to be any evidence of criminal wrongdoing from the reports and reviews which would warrant a police-led criminal investigation. However, Jayaram has raised some concerns in an email which is believed to have been covered in previous correspondence with the hospital, and we do not believe there was anything new. So that's the police officer saying that. However, we will agree to give him the opportunity to raise those concerns with the police, as he has sent it directly. So they go to see him, they go and have a final meeting with him. So I would love to know what it was. Nigel Wenham to arrange a one-to-one meeting with Dr. Jayaram on the 15th of May to discuss the concerns raised within the email. So whatever he put in this second email wasn't enough. They were still going to close the investigation, and that was it. Lucy was going to go back to work. But they thought they'll just go and see him as a one-to-one, just to check in case. Even though Jayaram had emailed the police directly without CCing anyone in the hospital, they thought, they better go and check with him just in case he wants to say anything, or just to clarify. And then they obviously go to meet up with them, and miraculously something is said, something is produced. So I just wanted to point out that basically it was Jayaram the Snake who delivered the coup de grace, if we're going to use some of Mark May's French. What a nasty bit of work. Did see a couple of other bits of interest. This was a meeting 7th of November. You guys have probably seen this before, but I thought I'd add it anyway. 7th of November 2016. Grievance investigation. Steve Brewery highlighted the increase in the number of deaths. There was no alarm bell on mortality rates, as the numbers of deaths are so small. Chris Green from the hospital, this is all the hospital stuff. In the analysis table, the column showing doctors was removed. Were you aware, Ian Harvey? I wasn't aware of that. Just to let you know some of the stuff that was going on. And finally, something else of interest. 5th of May. This was a couple of days before that meeting where they're discussing Jayaram's email. This is from Cheshire Constabulary about Lucy Letby and the nurse. Just to let you know, all of these. Just so you know that all of these arguments we've been raising about the statistics about her being on shift, they knew all this before they even were going to go ahead with even the criminal investigation about the nurse. As part of the review of the staff, there was a notable high statistical relationship between a number of nursing staff and babies deteriorating on the unit. There is no evidence other than coincidence. Okay, but look at this. She had been moved from nights to days and redeployed off the unit whilst the review was taking place for her protection. The nurse, so this is the police themselves writing this. The nurse has a qualification in speciality, QIS, so was therefore more likely to be caring after the sickest babies on the unit. She regularly worked overtime when the unit was over capacity. So they knew this before they even started. Before they even started the investigation, the official investigation. What do you think about that? I just thought I'd share some of that. I wanted to talk about also some stuff in current affairs where Lucy Letby, they're giving like Wes Streeting urges caution over campaign to clear nurse, and there was even a story on the BBC, I'm sure about it, where feels Seaside by Joy. Oh, that's a new one. I'll have a read of that in a bit. But yeah, the BBC was saying were basically mirroring the same story that I just showed. Oh, it is that one. Yeah, BBC. As if, I don't know, the BBC like to do like they're parroting that. So the BBC have decided to parrot the Wes Streeting talking on LBC, but they're not mentioning anything about Karen Rees. Interesting. I mean, who actually cares what Wes Streeting thinks? And like the Mail as well, I can't find it now, but saying that Christopher Snowdon still thinks she's guilty and that we're all loonies. And I just thought, who cares what Christopher Snowdon thinks? There's a smackhead down the corner of my road. Should we go and ask him what he thinks? I don't know why they're giving. There's a couple of like, what does Wes Streeting even know about the case? Anything? What's he got to do with it? Yeah. I've got loads of things I want to talk about actually, but I'll have to wait for another day. Okay. See ya.